Welcome, everybody, to this special episode of Brownsville Tech Live, where we are covering SpaceX's Falcon 9 launch tonight in support of the Starlink mission. We are just waiting for the actual feed to come up, and it should be here shortly, but stay tuned as SpaceX attempts to launch a Falcon 9 rocket with Starlink satellites on board. Once again, thank you all for tuning in tonight and watching this channel. Make sure you support your local podcast community by liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing on YouTube and following on Facebook Live. The launch should be any minute now. Thank you, Richard Scott, for tuning in. The launch should be any minute now. Richard, thank you for watching all the way from Lancaster, California. We appreciate your support. Once again, for those of you that are just joining us, we are covering the SpaceX launch of a Falcon 9 rocket. They will be launching several Starlink satellites tonight. And once again, we are just waiting for the launch sequence to start. We have our active SpaceX feed currently on the screen, and we're just waiting for the video feed from the launch pad to uh, appear. For those of you just joining us, welcome to this special episode of Brownsville Tech Live. Tonight we are bringing you the launching of a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket that will attempt to place into orbit several Starlink satellites. And we are currently just waiting for the live feed from the launch pad to begin. So stay tuned, and hopefully, here in the next couple of minutes, we will get an active live feed directly from the launch pad. Once again, thank you all for watching Brownsville Tech Live. Please support your local podcast community by liking, sharing, subscribing, and commenting on YouTube and following on Facebook Live. Once again, we are waiting for the live feed from the launch pad. It is taking a little longer than normal, so we're going to stay tuned and continue to wait for this live feed. Obviously, if there is a delay, then that will be rescheduled for later on today or possibly tomorrow evening. But we'll sit a little tight here and wait for any further updates from SpaceX with regards to this launch. Once again, we are just waiting for the SpaceX live feed to actually come on. It is taking a little longer. We're watching to see if there's any updated news from SpaceX on any kind of delay or cancellation. So if y'all stay tuned, we'll just keep on waiting. As you all know, we are waiting the live feed from the launch pad for SpaceX's Falcon 9 that is scheduled to lift off with 15 Starlink satellites tonight. It appears there has been a delay. It appears that the launch is now scheduled for 11:30 Central Time, which would be 12:30 Eastern Time for those of you who are just joining us. So at this point, we should be anticipating a launch here in about 25 minutes. So we're going to hang on just a little longer and we will see uh, what actually transpires here in the next 25 minutes. Once again, we appreciate everyone who is tuning in tonight for this launch of SpaceX's Falcon 9 rocket. So, like I said, we are waiting for the live feed to begin in about 25 minutes or so. Once again, for those of you just joining us, you are watching live coverage of SpaceX's Falcon 9 launch. It will place into orbit 15 Starlink satellites to provide internet connectivity around the world. Please do not forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to our channel on YouTube and follow this channel on Facebook Live. Debbie, welcome. Uh, Welcome to this live coverage of the SpaceX Falcon 9 launch. It is scheduled to launch here in 25 minutes. Once again, we appreciate you for tuning in tonight to Brownsville Tech Live. One of the thing about these launches is they've kind of been routine or they've been made routine. So for a lot of us that follow these launches, they pretty much go through a certain order. Sometimes we don't get to watch them all. We kind of get used to the norm of these just going up, without much fanfare. But definitely, we're very excited to follow the launch tonight, just like every launch. And for those of you that don't know where Brownsville is at, we're actually here in Texas, and we're actually about 25 miles from Starbase. Uh, so we've got a huge facility here at Starbase where uh, they're manufacturing the next generation of launch vehicles based on the Starship design. In fact, we had a launch here back in April for those of you that may have tuned in. It kind of was a success, even though it exploded. Well, it kind of terminated. Let's put it that way. It exploded, but it really was terminated due to it going out of control. But definitely, we are pretty excited because we've got the next launch window for Starship to occur anywhere between now and December. So we're pretty excited about this next Starship launch that is scheduled to occur um, between now and December 15th, I believe. Right now, they're very busy down at Starbase. They're actually working on repairing the launch pad. As most of you know, the launch pad suffered a severe amount of damage during this last launch. They just finished installing a new water deluge system that will minimize the amount of heat that is affected by the launching of Starship. Uh, Starship is unique in that it sports 33 Raptor 2 engines, uh, which up to this point, no vehicle other than I believe a Russian version of a rocket. I think it was their Nova rocket sported uh, a multiple amount of rocket engines. So uh, there's a lot of busy activity going on right now down at Starbase, trying to get ready for the next launch. And they've got several vehicles, launch vehicles down there aligned in the high bays for eventual launching and testing. So it's a pretty exciting time right now down here. So um, we follow SpaceX down here 24/7, 365 days out of the year, rain or shine. So not only do we cover SpaceX here at Starbase locally, but we also follow SpaceX regardless of where they're launching from, whether it's Florida or California. Uh, so hopefully here in about 20 minutes, we should start seeing um, the launching of the Falcon 9 rocket from, I believe, Vandenberg Air Force Base in California. For those of you that are just joining us, we are waiting the launching of SpaceX's Falcon 9 rocket from Vandenberg, California, where they will attempt to place into orbit 15 Starlink satellites in support of the Starlink mission to provide internet connectivity across the entire planet. So once again, the launch is scheduled for around 11:30 p.m. Central Time. That would be 8:30 or so Pacific Time, 12:30 Eastern. Um, so we're just waiting for the launch to occur. We've got a live feed already in place. We're just waiting for the actual live camera from the launch pad to start. Hopefully, here in about less than probably 15 minutes or so. So, once again, please do not forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Facebook Live. Um, we appreciate the support that you all provide us each and every week as we continue to bring you live coverage of SpaceX and their activities across the country. For those of you interested in supporting this channel, you can send us coffee payments directly to the link on your screen. So for those of you wanting to contribute a small amount to this effort, you can do so at coffee. So we appreciate any support y'all provide to this channel, whether it's viewership or monetary support. So once again, for anybody interested, you can send a coffee payment through coffee.com. And we'd like to thank our sponsor tonight, Bayview License to Carry. For anybody who is interested in getting their handgun permit here in the state of Texas, please visit Bayview License to Carry for all your gun permit and your gun uh, hardware needs. And when you uh, contact them, please use reference code BTECHLIVE, where you can get up to a 10% discount on training classes or even equipment. Once again, we appreciate the support of our sponsor, Bayview License to Carry. You can reach them at bayviewlicensetocarry.com for additional information or sign up. Stephen Griffith, thank you for tuning in tonight. Thank you for watching us all the way from Palm Springs. It's a warm summer night here in Texas, 27 miles from Starbase. We are right now waiting for SpaceX live coverage of the Falcon 9 rocket that will attempt to place 15 Starlink satellites in orbit uh, tonight. Hopefully, here in about 5 to 10 minutes. Myra Martinez, welcome to our show. Thank you for tuning on tonight. Once again, we are just waiting here 5 to 10 minutes from now for SpaceX to begin their launch sequence with regards to Falcon 9 and the 15 satellites they will attempt to place into orbit early this morning, early Wednesday morning, to say the least. Once again, for anybody who wants to make a small donation in support of this channel, you can do so by going over to coffee.com/Brownsville Tech Live, where you can make a small monetary donation that will allow us to bring you additional SpaceX coverage and content directly to you each and every week. Once again, we thank each and every one of you that supports this channel, either through your viewership or your monetary donations. That is good to know. Clear skies as well. We don't have any hurricanes yet. At least we don't hope we get any this year. Where is exactly Oxnard, Myra? Nina Florin, once again, thank you for tuning in to Brownsville Tech Live, where we are providing live coverage of SpaceX Falcon 9's launching of 15 Starlink satellites from Vandenberg Air Force Base in California. Nina, welcome to our show tonight. Ah, cool. I haven't been to California in a few years, so uh, I'd like to go back. Uh, Actually, the last time I was down in San Diego, caught a San Diego Padres baseball game. That was quite a while. So, yes, it is supposed to be around 9:30ish your time, which is 11:30ish my time. You're right, Stephen. We're kind of tuning in separately here to a different SpaceX feed to see if there's any changes. Once again, for those of you that are just joining us, thank you for tuning in to Brownsville Tech Live. We are 27 miles from Starbase, where we are going to attempt, hopefully between now and December, to launch the second version of Starship for those of you that are interested. Right now, though, we are focused on live coverage of Falcon 9's launch, where they will attempt to place 15 Starlink satellites in orbit in support of Starlink. I believe so, Stephen. There is a couple of tracking apps out there, especially the ones that you can track stars and things like that. I think one's called Night Sky that you can download for your iPhone or your Android, and it actually has a Starlink satellite feature that allows you to actually keep track of the Starlink satellites that are already in orbit. I believe it was Night Sky. I'll have to check, but yeah, you can actually keep track of those Starlink satellites that are already in orbit. So that's kind of cool that you're able to do that. In fact, there was a video a while back from somebody in Mexico, and they thought that what they were seeing were actual UFOs. And apparently, it turned out that they were a video of several Starlink satellites, all in sequence, like flying. But for a minute there, they thought that it was a bunch of UFOs and the alien invasion was about to happen. So uh, that was kind of cool. I'd never seen something like that, you know, where you see all those in a certain formation. But yeah, I mean, once again, I think the app was Night Sky. I think it was, and it actually had an option for Starlink to track the Starlink satellites. So I guess it comes in handy for anybody that's got a mobile Starlink terminal. I know that we have several of my YouTube friends, some YouTubers out here that come out here to monitor the SpaceX activity down here at Starbase, and they're actually using these mobile Starlink terminals that they kind of hook up to the top of their vehicles while they're actually doing streaming. So I guess in their case, I guess that app would come in handy because at least you'd know when the Starlink satellites were coming upon you or something. I will say that, for a lot of my YouTuber friends that came down to cover the Starship launch back in April, it was so cloudy that day that apparently they suffered a lot of uh, disconnections. So a lot of them could not do their live video feeds during the Starship launch because of the fact that it was so cloudy. So for whatever reason, it doesn't do very well when it comes to clouds. And so most of those YouTubers that were expecting to catch some live feeds of the Starship launch back in April, they weren't able to get good feeds. So, that's still an issue. But of course, if you live somewhere out in the boonies where you don't have internet connectivity, and there's still a lot of places out in the country where, that is the case. In fact, I've even heard that there's places out there in the country still using dial up, old dial up modems, if you can believe that. You know, so not everybody has access to fiber, and definitely they don't have access to cable internet or DSL or anything like that that's high speed. There's still a lot of people out there, even in the US, that don't have access to high speed internet. I know here in Brownsville, we've got a city initiative where they're going to provide fiber connectivity to every house. So every house here in the city is going to be connected to a fiber optic network, and they will be getting internet connectivity for about $40 a month. Uh, this is basically a program that was passed as part of the American Rescue Plan a couple of years ago. So, um, but definitely Starlink is a big plus for anybody out there living in areas where there's no connectivity whatsoever, or very little connectivity, or very slow connectivity. Places, other places of the world like Africa, where it's very difficult to um, provide internet connectivity. This becomes ideal. You know, I've even heard that now, cruise ships actually use Starlink as a service for the internet. I remember back in 2003 when I went on a Carnival cruise ship. Um, Internet connectivity was a premium. It You had to buy it, and it was pretty expensive. Okay, so now it's 10:25. Alrighty. Alrighty, it looks like it's been pushed back till 12:25. So it'll be about another hour before we're able to um, get some additional live feeds from Vandenberg. So we'll go ahead and wait here for the launch to occur. Once again, for those of you that are just tuning in, we are waiting for the launching of Falcon 9 uh, from Vandenberg. And this is for the attempt of 15 Starlink satellites that will be placed into orbit. Yes, Stephen, I definitely understand. It's really past my bedtime, too. Yes, Margaret, it is 12:25 now, Texas time, when it is scheduled to at least launch, or at least we hope it launches. I'm not really sure what is pending all the delays, but obviously something must have happened for it to have been delayed for almost an hour. Not surprising, though. Not surprising. I've been through these many times with SpaceX. There are times that unfortunately they want to launch these things at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and unfortunately we can't have the computer on auto tune. Yeah, definitely just push the button, right? Well, I guess it's all in the name of safety, really, if you think about it. They don't want to have any problems. I think, satellites are pretty expensive, so you don't want to necessarily destroy that cargo. Of course, keep in mind it's SpaceX's own cargo, right? So that may be a little bit of a difference, but if it was some other client, obviously they want to minimize any kind of danger to the equipment. So I could understand why they want to hold back. But definitely, it is a little bit of a bummer that we've got to wait an additional hour. Um, but once again, we appreciate anybody who's going to tune in, who will continue to tune in. Um, I definitely understand. Yeah, it's $52 million per launch, Stephen. No doubt about that. But it's still far cheaper than launching the space shuttle, and it's definitely far cheaper than anything that Boeing can send up to orbit. So I think Elon has proven his point that he can launch them cheaper and quicker, uh, much less than NASA can and any of the other contractors. So uh, I think from that standpoint, I think he's proven. I think it's like a drop in the bucket for them. 52 million. It's not a whole lot, but it's definitely cheaper than what it used to cost to launch the space shuttle. Not knocking the space shuttle by any means, by the way. I see old nostalgic video and pictures of some of the old shuttle launches and stuff like that. It just definitely brings memories. I've been watching the shuttle launches since they first started in 1981. So I've gone through all the shuttle launches. I've gone through some of the sad points in the shuttle program. I remember the Challenger explosion, and then of course the disintegration of Columbia back in 2001. So those are things that are always on your mind, at least for those of us that are old enough to have followed the shuttle program since the very beginning. It's something that never leaves you, never forget. You know, in some ways, it's kind of like when you fly on an airplane. At least I do. I think about airplane safety. The 1980s primarily. Were a time where we experienced a lot of airplane crashes, but also a lot of airline hijackings at the same time. And, it was 2001 when we had those airplanes hijacked, as well. So, that's always in the back of your mind when some of those tragic things occur. And definitely, we have felt the impact when it comes to losing, you know, our space shuttles and our astronauts. I don't think it's anything anybody can ever forget, and it's always on your mind every time one of these launches occurs because, the risk has not been minimized, and the danger is always there. Yeah, yeah, I had a lot of friends whose parents, when we were in college, they worked for NASA here in Houston. Um, you know, during the 1990s, they were trying to get the space station up and running. So I had a lot of friends whose parents worked for some of the local aerospace companies, including McDonnell Douglas and a few others. So I definitely know the impact that the space program has had over the years. I used to, have friends that, didn't know if their parents were going to have a job, every single time, Congress came up for a vote for additional space station funding at the time. It wasn't always it was always an up and down kind of thing. You never knew when Congress was going to pull the plug, you know. So it was kind of heartfelt for some of my friends that were trying to figure out whether they were going to eat or not the next couple of months, you know. So, but the good thing is that we did build the space station. You know that definitely did happen. Maybe it wasn't the original one that was planned, but it definitely has been well worth the money and the time and the effort. Uh, and hopefully we can keep it going past 2030, even though I know that there are plans to retire it by 2030. You know, I have heard that I think SpaceX and some other company, Axiom, I believe is the company. I think we covered them a few weeks ago during the Axiom 2 crew launch. They plan to uh, build the first commercial space station that will be a replacement to the current space station up in orbit. Yes, Adiel, we are still waiting. It has been pushed back till 12:29 p.m. That's about maybe 50 minutes from now. So for those of you just watching or tuning in, we are right now covering live coverage of SpaceX's Falcon 9 launch from Vandenberg in California. The launch was scheduled to occur at 10:38 p.m. Central Time, which was 12:38 Pacific Time. But there has been a 1 hour delay. We are not actually sure what transpired the delay, but we're all here patiently waiting for additional updates or hopefully a launch here in 50 plus minutes or so. So I appreciate everyone who is tuning in. Um, and like I said, it is kind of, uh, you know, normal for these delays to occur. I've been through them several times. Uh, I remember when we were doing our live coverage of Starship here in Texas back in April. Originally, Elon had wanted to launch on the 17th of April, which was a Monday. And so you had all these people fly down and book hotels and condos and things like that to prepare for the launch for the 17th. And then about 40, I think it was like 40 seconds before it was to launch, they had an anomaly with one of the valves, and that pretty much scrubbed the it scrubbed the launching for that day. There was a lot of pissed off people though that had actually had to go back. You know, they had come down, they had rented condos, they had taken time off, and because they were anticipating that it was 417, which it was, right? Even though Elon had mentioned that it was like 420th and so forth, which was the date eventually when it did launch. But a lot of people that actually made all these plans and so forth, they were kind of disappointed when it didn't happen. And of course, most of them had to go back home because they had to either go to work, to school, so it was kind of a bummer. So then 3 days later on the 20th, which was a Thursday, once again, they did attempt to launch Starship, and it was a go at that point. Obviously, they had to terminate the flight after they lost control. What actually happened was that the separation of the first booster and the second booster did not occur, and as a result of that, they lost control of the Starship rocket, and as a result, they had to terminate the flight. But according to Elon, they have made over 1,000 upgrades to the design of Starship since that initial launch on April 20th. And so one of the things that they've done is I believe that now there is it like a mechanical method to separate the boosters, the first stage from the second stage? And of course, they've made lots of upgrades to the launch pad because for those of you that may have tuned into the launch, the rocket didn't quite launch straight up. It kind of slightly curved to the side, and that really wasn't supposed to happen. So apparently, I think there some of the launch pieces or the launch pad pieces collapsed, and that's what caused the rocket to tilt slightly a little bit. I mean, they were kind of very lucky in a way because that thing could have exploded on the launch pad. Um, and it would have been much more serious than what most people anticipated. So um, they've made several upgrades. They've reinforced it with lots of concrete. Uh, and I was down at Starbase probably about maybe a couple of weeks ago, and it was just a complete mess. I mean, they had that place turned up top, bottom, left, and right. I've got friends down there that are saying they're working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I mean, they're hustling to try to meet this next launch. And, it is kind of interesting that, all of this has occurred pretty quickly, you know. So, the last thing I hear is that the next Starship launch will be um, any anytime between now and the 15th of December. So that is the plan unless things change. But uh, for those of you following the Starship program, that's what they anticipate that launch time frame to be. So once again, for those of you just joining us, the current launch expected launch is 12:25 a.m. Central Time. Uh, I will say that shortly after that, if we do not launch, I will have to uh, possibly terminate the video because we anticipate only about an hour's worth of video, and we don't want to cause any streaming issues here. So hopefully there's a launch. If not, we will definitely provide pre-recorded coverage for anybody that's interested. But once again, we'll stick around till 12:25 and see what transpires. So once again, we appreciate everybody that is tuned in. We appreciate all the comments. We appreciate some of those fans out in California that have tuned into our show. Um, it's always nice to have user comment and feedback. And like I said, for anybody out there that wants to support this channel beyond viewership, you can make your donations at coffee.com/Brownsville Tech Live. Whatever small monetary donation you wish to make will go a long way to continuing to support this channel so that we can bring this kind of content to you each and every day. It is our goal to cover SpaceX 24/7, 365 days out of the year, no matter where the action is occurring. So we definitely appreciate each and every one of you that is tuned in, and for those of you that will have made any monetary donations along the way. For those of you that are just tuning in, we are awaiting the launch of SpaceX's Falcon 9 rocket from Vandenberg Air Force Base in California. There has been a slight delay in the launching of the 15 of the rocket that will launch or make an attempt to launch 15 Starlink satellites into orbit tonight. We don't necessarily know the reasons for the delay, but it's not surprising that these delays can and will happen from time to time. So we do appreciate anybody who has stayed on. For those of you that have decided to go to bed, I don't blame you. It's past my bedtime as well. So I will try my very best to stick around for as long as it takes. And once again, um, it is now scheduled to launch at 12:25 a.m. Central Time, which is 10:30 Pacific Time, I believe. Once again, for those of you who are just joining us tonight, we are providing live coverage of SpaceX's Falcon 9 launch from Vandenberg Air Force Base, where they will attempt to place 15 Starlink satellites into orbit. Once again, there's been a delay. Right now, the current scheduled launch time is 12:25 Pacific time, which is, excuse me, 10:25 Pacific time, which is 12:25 Central time for those of us in the Central time zone. So once again, we are hoping that this launch occurs. Otherwise, we will come back once the next scheduled time sequence is available to provide the same level of coverage that we have tonight. Once again, we appreciate everyone that has continued to stay on with us tonight. I know it's not easy, but we definitely appreciate y'all's support, um, throughout the last year or so as we've striven to provide SpaceX coverage 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days out of the year. For those of you that want to do a little bit more and maybe drop in a small donation, you can support this channel at coffee.com/Brownsville Tech Live. Your donations will go directly to support this channel, and it'll allow us to provide this type of content to you each and every day as it comes up. So for those of you that want to provide a small donation, you can go ahead and do that at coffee.com/Brownsville Tech Live. And for those of you that want to go a little further, you can also support this channel by commenting, liking, sharing, and subscribing on YouTube, as well as following us on Facebook Live. For those of us that are just joining us tonight, we are covering SpaceX's Falcon 9 launch, which was originally scheduled to take off at 8:38 Pacific time, but there was a delay. It is now scheduled to take off at um, 10:25 Pacific time, which is 12:25 Central time for those of you in the Central time zone. So once again, there has been a delay, but hopefully here in less than 15 minutes, we will have a launch of Falcon 9 from Vandenberg in California. Joe Gregory, welcome to our show. That's the hope. That's the hope that it is scheduled for 10:25 Pacific time, which is 12:25 my time. So I'm really hoping, uh, that this does occur. It's getting past my bedtime here. I'm not as young as I used to be, so I can't hang on very long. Plus, pretty soon here, I may run into an issue with running out of disk space as we record these shows and then we place them in some of the other social media platforms. So there's going to be a lot of editing tomorrow morning as a result of that. Once again, for those of you that are just tuning in, uh, the current launch time is set for 10:25 Pacific time. That is 12:25 Central time and 1:25 Eastern time for our viewers on the East Coast. Once again, there was a delay, but hopefully here in about 20 minutes or so, we will see the launching of Falcon 9 from Vandenberg in California. So once again, for those of you that are just tuning in, it is about 20 minutes till the scheduled launch. And let's not forget to go out there and like, share, subscribe, and comment on YouTube. And follow us on Facebook Live. For those of you that want to go above and beyond, we've also accept, you know, coffee donations over coffee.com/Brownsville Tech Live. Any little bit will allow us to keep on bringing you this kind of content each and every time SpaceX has a launch. As most of you know, we are based 20 miles from Starbase, Texas, where we are building and manufacturing the next generation of launch vehicles uh, under the Starship program. So we definitely are in for the long haul, hopefully all the way to Mars. So we're very excited about what's coming up here in the next few months here at Starbase. Lots of frenzy and activity going on right now. Lots of construction, lots of repairs, obviously, to the launch pad that have to be ready before the next scheduled launch of Starship. So, we're pretty excited about that. We will be providing live coverage like we did the last time when that happens. We've got several camera feeds positioned around the launch facility that we will provide live coverage when we are scheduled to see that launch happen here sometime soon. So we hope that when that does occur, that you guys tune in to the next launching of the next generation launch vehicle, which is Starship, coming up between now and December 15th. Hopefully sooner rather than later. I don't want to be out there covering a launch when it's 40 degrees outside. Even though it's 364 degrees here in Texas, it's always summer for 364 days out of the year. So we only have one winter and a few hurricanes. So if you guys didn't notice, I'm wearing my Star Wars t-shirt tonight. So I felt it was kind of fitting for the occasion. Plus, I've got my Star Wars sign in the back here and back as well. So I'm hoping eventually to make it out to see the latest Indiana Jones movie that's out in the theaters. So haven't had a chance to do that, but I'm hoping maybe next week I'll make it out to do that. I've never missed any Indiana Jones shows, so I'm really excited about that as well. Joe Gregory, thank you for the stars. It's definitely appreciated. Delicia, the expected time launch is 12:25 Central Time, which is 10:25 California time, which is 1:25 Eastern Time for those on the West Coast. For those of you that are just joining us, we are providing live coverage of SpaceX's Falcon 9 launch tonight. It was originally scheduled to take off at 8:25 p.m. Pacific time, but there was a delay shifting the launch window to 10:25 Pacific time, 12:25 Central time, or 1:25 Eastern time for our friends out on the East Coast. Once again, we are less than 25 minutes or less than 20 minutes from the launching of SpaceX's Falcon 9 from Vandenberg Air Force Base in California, where they will launch 15 Starlink satellites that will assist in covering and providing internet connectivity across the planet. So we are just waiting for the launching of this Falcon 9 rocket, currently scheduled to take off at 12:25 a.m. Central Time, which is 10:25 Pacific Time for those on the West Coast. Delicia, how far are you from San Diego? Lenny, thank you for tuning in to um, our show tonight. We appreciate you logging in tonight. Where are you all located? Alrighty, folks, we are less than 15 minutes away from the scheduled launch of SpaceX's Falcon 9 rocket from Vandenberg Air Force Base in California. Once again, for those of you that are just joining us, originally the rocket was supposed to take off at 8:25 Pacific time, but there has been a delay pushing that back into 10:25 Pacific time, which is 12:25 Central time and 1:25 Eastern time for those on the East Coast. Once again, we are waiting for the launch of SpaceX's Falcon 9 rocket from Vandenberg. Yes, Tanya, at this time we are still looking at 10:25 p.m. Pacific time for the actual launch. We have not received any additional information with any sorts of delays beyond the delay that has already occurred. So right now it looks like we are still scheduled for 10:25 p.m. Pacific time. Once again, Tanya, thank you for tuning into our show at this late hour. It's actually not late for you. It's more late for uh, me that I'm sitting here in Texas, right next door to Starbase. So uh, definitely, it's a little bit past my bedtime already. But we'll stick around till this scheduled time. After that, I believe that they're looking at other launch window opportunities of tomorrow evening, and thus we will be back at that time. Jacob, welcome. Thank you for tuning in. Uh, we definitely appreciate all our fans in California that tune in each and every time we've got a launch. So your viewership is greatly appreciated. So thank you for tuning in tonight. For those of you that don't manage to catch this launch tonight, if it does occur, you can catch a recorded portion of this show across 9 social media platforms. It includes Facebook Live, YouTube, uh, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Twitch, and Twitter, and Instagram. So if for some reason you managed to go to bed by this time or decided to catch a pre-recorded or a recorded sequence tomorrow, you can do so on any of those 9 social media platforms. And for those of you that want to continue to support this channel, you can do so by making a small monetary donation at coffee.com Brownsville Tech Live. Any amount will help us bring you this kind of content each and every week as SpaceX allows us to. Jen, thank you for watching all the way from Phoenix. It is still scheduled for 10:25 p.m. Pacific time, which is 12:25 Central time and 1:25 Eastern time. So far that is the plan. We are less than 15 minutes from launch. Just bear with us here as we wait for this to occur. Once again, for those of you just joining us, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. Definitely, we appreciate any subscriptions you can to our channel. And for those of you on Facebook, become a follower and follow us on Facebook Live. Yes, Vince, welcome. It is late, but as far as we know, it is scheduled for 10:25 Pacific time. If for some reason after 10:25 this doesn't occur, I believe there are other launch window opportunities that SpaceX is looking for launching this rocket. So I believe that here shortly, if it doesn't happen here in 15 minutes, it will probably be delayed for about a day or so. But once again, don't worry, we'll be back on to provide the same level of coverage we have tonight. Hopefully, it will allow us to get a little bit of shut eye tonight after this long wait. Alrighty, folks, for those of you that are just joining us tonight, we are live right now covering SpaceX's Falcon 9 launch from Vandenberg Air Force Base in California, where they will attempt to launch and place into orbit 15 Starlink satellites tonight. The launch was scheduled for 8:25 Pacific time, and then there was a delay pushing the launch to 10:25 p.m. Pacific time. Here we go, folks. It looks like it's going to happen. So for those of you that have joined and waited all this time, the wait was well worth it. Once again, thank you all for watching Brownsville Tech Live. For continuous coverage of SpaceX 24/7, 365 days out of the year, directly from Starbase, Texas. Thank you all for watching, and after this launch, have a great night, and we'll see you on the next launch.
Nice launch trajectory and countdown net. Pad is clear.
10, 9, 8.
Launch auto sequence
7,
has started.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Go for launch.
Vehicle is supersonic.
Stage separation confirmed. Dragon, separation confirmed. Stage 1 is transonic. Landing legs have deployed. And Falcon 9 has landed.
Hello everyone and good evening. My name is Zachary Lupin and I'll be your host for tonight's Starlink mission, which marks SpaceX's 48th launch of the year and 247th overall mission to date. Now, while it is quite difficult to see our Falcon rocket through the fog, on your screen right now is a live view of our Falcon 9 vehicle on the pad at Space Launch Complex 4 East at Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. At T-minus 4 minutes and 42 seconds, the range is ready to support, and even though there's fog at Vandenberg, the weather is looking great for an on-time liftoff of 10:25 p.m. Pacific time. Teams are currently tracking no issues with the vehicle or the spacecraft. Now, while it will be quite difficult to see through the fog, the strong back, which is adjacent to the Falcon 9 vehicle, has clamp arms that will be opening up just below the payload fairing on our Falcon rocket. The strong back, or transporter erector, is the truss structure next to the rocket that is used for rollout and to route propellants and electrical power to the vehicle in preparation for launch. Now, once those clamp arms are fully open, the strong back will recline away from the vehicle. The transporter erector usually moves away a couple degrees away from the rocket, and then once the rocket lifts off from the pad, will retract even further away. Coming up next at the T-minus 3 minute mark, we should hear that Stage 1 has completed liquid oxygen loading.
Stage 1 LOX load is complete.
And there's that call out that Stage 1 LOX loading is complete. The Falcon 9 first stage is now fully loaded with RP-1 and
Stage
LOX.
1 POGO.
And we're awaiting completion of LOX load on the second stage in about 50 seconds from now. Now again, while it is quite foggy at Vandenberg, there are some white clouds forming around our Falcon vehicle. Those clouds are the chilled gas above the LOX tank liquid surface that we vent overboard to maintain pressure in the tank as needed. And when that gas comes out into the California air, the humid moist air condenses into clouds and water. Coming up shortly, we should hear a call out that LOX loading is complete on the second stage of our Falcon vehicle. The booster, or first stage of the rocket that you see on screen, is flying for its 10th time tonight. And after liftoff and stage separation, this booster is scheduled to land on our drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You, which is currently stationed in the Pacific Ocean. As many of you may already know, successfully recovering parts of the rocket allows SpaceX to refly the most expensive pieces, which in turn drives down the cost of space access. Coming up in about 24 seconds from now, we should hear a call out over the nets updating us that Falcon 9 is in startup, which means that the flight computers have taken over the launch countdown.
Stage 2 LOX load is complete. Falcon 9 is in startup.
And there's those callouts of Stage 2 LOX loading completion, as well as Falcon 9 startup. In a few seconds, we should hear our LD give the final go for launch.
LD is go for launch.
And as you just heard, the launch director has given the final go to proceed for launch tonight. So let's sit back and watch as Falcon 9 takes our 15 Starlink satellites into space.
T-minus 30 seconds. Seconds. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, abort.
And if you've been following along, you'll heard that we had an abort at the 5-second mark. Prior to that, the countdown was proceeding nominally, so please stand by while we check in with the teams to see if we can get more information.
For those that are still on tonight, there has been
This is
abort
launch director
of
on
5
countdown
seconds.
1. We have aborted. The vehicle's safe, and we are proceeding with the offload off sequence.
The mission has been aborted.
And if you just heard that call out from our launch director, there has been an abort for this mission at the 5-second mark. Keep in mind that the purpose of the countdown is to help us catch potential issues prior to flight. And there are thousands of ways a launch can go wrong, and only one way it can go right. Given that, we are overly cautious on the ground, and if the team or the vehicle sees anything that just looks even slightly off, they'll stop the countdown. Again, the vehicle and the payload are in good health, but this will end our launch attempt for today. Please check our social media accounts for our next launch opportunity. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Alrighty, folks. Everyone have a good night. We will definitely catch you on the next launch when it happens. Thank you all for watching. And once again, thank you for supporting Brownsville Tech Live, where we provide SpaceX coverage 365 days out of the year, 24 hours a day, across 9 social media platforms. Thank you for watching.